if you speak out things that you're afraid of, that you don't want to happen to you, and you speak them out loud many times, well, you are bringing them to your head, to your consciousness, to your conscious mind, and to the conscious mind of people around you. So that's why I'm bringing out the Spider-Verse to everyone around me, because that's what I want people to root in me right now. Will it be the same thing in 3 years? Hopefully, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not attached to it, but this is the thing right now.
What is happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 52 Qs podcast, where we talk about all things production, library, and sync music. It is so good to be with you today. My name is Dave Croft, and I just want to thank you for spending part of your day here with me. I know you have a ton of options out there, whether on YouTube or whether listening to this on the podcast app on the go. Just thank you. Really, really do appreciate you. Also, a huge word of thanks to our family, friends, and neighbor subscribers of 52 Qs who really do keep all of this going. We're going to be talking more about how you can support 52 Qs a little bit later in today's episode. Speaking of today's episode, we've got a good one today. We're going to be rolling part 2 of my recent interview with Roy Matz of the Sync Gems podcast. This guy is the real deal, man. Such a sweet soul and authentic guy. Loved chatting with him. And rolling part 2 of this, we're going to be talking about authenticity. We're going to be talking about struggling with overcommitting, how to approach goals in a healthy manner, especially when you set really like Hollywood level goals. We're going to talk about balancing art and commerce and the role of relationships and gratitude in the industry. So definitely want to stick around for that. And then after that, I'm going to be playing my latest cue, which is called Guzheng and the Restless, which is a world-based hip-hop cue, which starts my latest album, which is kind of the last of a trilogy of albums that I've been working on for Discovery Channel, which are world cues. Taking world instruments, either making world cinematic cues or world dramedy cues, and this one is going to be world hip hop. And so that's called Guzheng and the Restless, and it features a sampled Chinese guzheng, which is kind of a dulcimer type instrument. So definitely want to stick around for that. Now, as far as my week, it's actually been a really super productive week. I've wrapped up 3 cues already as of this recording. And that doesn't mean that I started 3 cues from scratch. It's just that 3 cues in various stages of production have all kind of come together and coalesced right here, which is a good thing because I have about 15 days, no less than that, because this album has to be finished by the end of May. And I know that. And Parkinson's law kicked in, and so I've got my deadline because I'm really, really bad at just, if it's open deadline, I will either procrastinate or I'll work on other things. But when I have a deadline looming at me, then I tend to find very creative ways to prioritize. And in this case, instead of writing just one cue at a time, which tends to be my MO, I'll write one cue and finish it until it's done, and then work up deliverables and all of that stuff. But with this one, because I know that I have to get this done, I've started writing in little nooks and crannies of my day. So if I have an hour here, then I'll chip away at it. Again, it's a little outside of my workflow, but I've been enjoying it, and it's really nice to have already 4 cues done. I have 1 cue, which is going to get wrapped up during the live stream this week, and then 2 more, which are already a third of the way done. So that's 7 of the 10 tracks well on their way. Like at this point, it's kind of arranging and polishing and doing deliverables. And so that feels really good. And so I find myself this week reminding myself that it's okay to, yes, try different things, but also different workflows at different stages of where you are and different types of cues. I feel like hip hop cues work really well in small chunks. And, I can, work on my 808s, or I can work on my stutter hats, or I can work on my melodic choices, or finding, new new ways to use these instruments, which I've now used across 2 other albums. And so finding an hour here or 30 minutes there in between clients, in between teaching, at Full Sail or grading or whatever, has been really, really good for me, and a reminder that finding small victories throughout the week is really motivating for me. That doesn't mean every cue is going to get worked out this way, but I am enjoying that. I am enjoying that for now. So I'm going to write it. I'm going to keep writing that. But how was your week? Let me know in the comments below anything that I can help with. If you have any questions, please add those in the comments. This is something I would like to start doing, having a portion of the podcast where I'm actually answering your questions. So please, you can put them in the comments below, and we'll see if I can start working that in. So for today's topic, I'm going to be rolling in part 2 of Roy's interview, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Roy's sample pack. This is something he talked about last week in the podcast. I kind of didn't want to spoil it, but if you go to roymatz.com, that's ROYMATZ.com, you can click on store, and he has created his own sample pack of beatboxing sounds, and we're going to play a little preview here.
Gems. Drop them. Gems.
This is so good, man.
Boxer you told me about. Oh, that's pretty cool. Is he doing that all with his mouth?
Yeah, Dad, also the weird sounds.
Wow, that's awesome.
Buy it for me, Daddy, please.
Does he also have a job?
Yeah, so go to roymatz.com. You can click on store or roymatz.com/store and support him. And challenge given, challenge accepted. And so appreciate you, Roy. Thank you. Like I said, I didn't want to necessarily spoil that last week. But without further ado, here is the rest of my recent chat with Roy. I've never regretted saying no to something that wasn't mine to do, but I have 100% regretted saying yes to something that I knew wasn't mine to do. 100%. And that's where that's my kryptonite. I talk with my coaching students, find your superpower, and then usually with a superpower comes a kryptonite, something that will just crush you if you let it get out of control. And my kryptonite is overpromising and under-delivering, right?
Wow.
Because I've just said yes to too many things, some of which were not mine to do. And so it's through saying yes when you weren't supposed to, taking your lumps, learning from it, that allows you to see it before it happens, right? It's like, okay, there's a pattern that I recognize that I need to back away from. Nope, I don't need to take that gig. Even right now, I got a text last week from my last remaining musical outfit that I work with. Mm-hmm. Hey, can you do these dates later in the year? And my soul tells me no. But have I said no to them yet? No, because I love them. They're great people. And knowing like this would be the last professional gig thing that I have going on. It's hard. It is hard. It's hard to come to terms with something that you've wanted or that's been such a big part of your life just kind of fall away.
And more than that, other people want it as well. So that's another part where you go like, well, I'm so ungrateful, but there's nothing to do with ungratefulness. It's just it's just purpose. Yeah,
that's right. And so if, earlier before we talked, before we started recording, we were talking about how, in this industry, in the sync industry, there's a lot of kind of, buy my course and this, you can make $90,000 in sync and all of this stuff. And I don't know. I'm kind of a slow and steady wins the race kind of a mentality, and giving people the truth and honesty and without like sell. And I think the people who are going to make it sustainably in any creative industry, but especially in production music where you're in the background a lot, right? I count on one hand the number of times I've seen music by Dave Croft on screen. Right, it's always kind of it's background. And if it's not yours to do, and if you don't come from that place of caring for people, and it's coming out of a genuine, authentic place, I just don't think it's sustainable long term.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I like talking about these super heady philosophical things. I think it's important to go there.
Yeah, I mean, so like full disclosure, the way that it started for me was I wanted to be on Spider-Verse. And it's still my big goal. It's still my North Star because there's gonna be a Spider-Verse 3. It's gonna be dope. But like what it did for me is, so because I love superhero movies, it just like geared me towards something. And it gave me something to kind of feed me to start doing this thing. And then once I cheated my brain into like, okay, now you've done one album, so now just like do another album and another album. And then it just became okay, like so now I'm doing stuff for sports, and now I'm doing stuff for this, and now I'm doing stuff for that. And it just like the act of music in the end of the day is really what gives me that that energy, it's really that superpower that I tap into, and it really makes me feel invincible in a way. And it started from a selfish place. Like I used to want to be famous, but I realized as time came, I speak about it a lot in the podcast, that like fame is actually far from what I'm looking for my personality, because I'm kind of an introvert. Like I'd rather literally like at Saturday night, I'd rather watch Game of Thrones, even though like I'm hooked. So I'd rather do it over anything. But like generally I would rather binge something than go out and meet people. Like it's really a push out of my comfort zone to meet people. So to be a person who everyone wants a piece of you outside of your comfort would have made me like a complete hermit. So I'm super happy that it didn't happen. Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna speak it out into the universe that you're gonna get that Spider-Verse placement, man, because your stuff is amazing. It's really really good. So I'm a fan of your music as much as your podcast, and so keep at it, dude. I'm gonna believe it for you and hold space that you're gonna land that placement. We can I don't know if you know about like whiteboarding and all that kind of stuff. You know, we can put it on the whiteboard.
I have my screensaver is Spider-Verse. So like it's my North Star. It's always been, and it's gonna stay like that. And I'm speaking it out, and more people know about it than don't. And it's just, the thing is, I feel like I've learned from actually from my friend Sigrid, which was on the podcast, which is an amazing dude. I recommend. I'll maybe connect y'all, but and he just speaks to how, like, if I get it, it's amazing. If I do it, it's amazing. If he got Mortal Kombat last year, and if all of this comes to fruition, then hell yeah, I wanted to say the F word, and you
dude, this is your podcast too.
You're not getting to bleep that. You're not. Nah. So I mean, like, but what he speaks to is that if it doesn't, then I'm still as happy as I was before. And I used to, like I used to be that person that if I don't get the reward, if I don't get the medal, if I don't get the whatever, I'm less of a person than what I came in as, which is a very, very, very dangerous trait to have, especially in this world of music, where you have to develop that thick skin and that on to the next one mentality, especially with sync. So I feel like
somebody else gets to assign value, right? Somebody else gets to say whether this is good enough, which goes back to you have to enjoy. Let me say it another way. You have to be as happy writing music as you are getting music placed.
100%. And the reason I'm saying all this is because, when people first hear me rap, usually they don't think I'm white, which is like, it's a huge compliment for me. It's a huge thing, because I grew up listening to these people, and I grew up imitating, and I grew up, like in a household that listens to basically exclusively music from like gospel and R&B and all that kind of stuff. And the reason that I say that is just like this was to me more than being famous, being acknowledged by people who know it better than me, who have grew into something like rap, and telling me you sound and feel like you're one of my own, was just a crazy thing for me. It was something like living in New York, and living in that grimy lifestyle and all this, and then somebody coming up to me and saying, "Wow," like it was somebody who doesn't know me, telling me that I sound like this or like that, and it's just, this was a bigger compliment than any Grammy I can get. Just like the acknowledgement of what I'm doing moves somebody.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the approach that the healthiest approach to the world of sync, to the world of music, to the anything I do, is to get these little things. Like, you know what? Let's take dog training. I'm training my dog. She's right here under me,
Aw.
sleeping. She's man, she's the sweetest thing ever, and everybody who knows me knows Sheila. But she's with her, with dog training. I think you'll understand the analogy, but like little. I train her. Like we do a lot of training, a lot of brain exercises, a lot of. I'm intrigued by dogs. I think they're the most amazing thing in the world. But the most amazing thing is that they are a reflection of exactly what you are putting out. So if the dog's neurotic, well, guess what? It means you're neurotic. Like
There's some neurotic
literally
energy in the house, man.
it's literally the ideal mirror to you. If people saying, "Oh, my dog is crazy," he's crazy because of a reason, lady. Like usually that's the thing. Like there is something that is given to them that is reinforcing that behavior. And it just like the same goes to us as human being. As human beings, we are the result of our past decisions, right? And if you let your dog make a lot of bad decisions in a row, your dog is just gonna make more bad decisions. It's just math. It's nothing else. And then that is exactly the same with with anything that we do. It's the more we reinforce something that we don't want to be a part of us. Even that's why they say language is so key. Because if you speak out things that you're afraid of, that you don't want to happen to you, and you speak them out loud many times, well, you are bringing them to your head, to your consciousness, to your conscious mind, and to the conscious mind of people around you. So that's why I'm bringing out the Spider-Verse to everyone around me, because that's what I want people to root in me right now. Will it be the same thing in 3 years? Hopefully, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not attached to it, but this is the thing right now. So I'm putting it out, and I'm putting it really carefully, because I know this is something that is running with me, not after me.
And anybody that's listening, if you're watching, either on my show or your show or whatever, you're probably picking up on, subtle undertones of spirituality and those types of things, like I'm not a super overly like religious person or whatever. I mean, I grew up in the church and all that, blah, blah, blah. But I think creativity comes from within, and it comes from a fundamentally kind of soul type place, which is why I don't think you can talk about, success. You can't talk about creativity. You can't talk about happiness and fulfillment and intention without going a little bit deeper, And so, and whatever that looks like for you, I am here to support you. And at the end of every show, I say the universe has amazing plans. Some people, when they hear that, they hear God has amazing plans just for you, right? And I don't say God on purpose, because the universe has many different facets to it, some of which we'll never understand because our little tiny gray matter can't comprehend something so vast and amazing and big and ancient. So anyway, all that to say, whether you resonate with the kind of the spiritual aspect or not, the challenge, especially in production music and sync, is when this creative force hits the commercial force. And that's where we live. In Questlove's book, The Creative Quest, he calls it the intersection of art and commerce. And that is where we are walking that tightrope every single day. We don't get to just put out whatever we want to put out, and it's my art. And if you don't like it, then go to hell, right? I am the artist, because somebody gets to decide whether or not it goes on TV. And if you want that to change, then make your own television, right? I mean, that's why Lin-Manuel Miranda started writing shows, is so he could be in them, because he wasn't landing roles. And so he's the lead in Hamilton because he wrote Hamilton.
Wow.
But until we are there, then we've got to walk that tightrope. And so being grounded spiritually or whatever, being grounded with your relationships, with your process, being tamping down your ego as much as you can, understanding where your fulfillment, where your happiness comes from, who gets to define what success is. Success defined by, hey, I wrote something, or is success defined by somebody said this is good? We have to walk that tightrope, and boy, is it hard sometimes. And I'm not always great at it.
Yeah. Same here, man. Same here. It's so many things of that you were saying were hitting home for me, man. It's being able to understand that, and again, being a stereotypical Taurus, I tend to butt horns with anything that comes my way. And yeah, it was one of these things where, I mean, like, I can write beautiful music, but if it's but if there's too much, I mean, 10K, it's not gonna go under just like people talking, and it's just the way it is. It's just mathematically, again, like 10K is around the area where people talk, and if you have a crazy loud guitar there, then nobody's gonna be able to talk over it. So I mean, that's something that had to, and still till this day has to, move a little bit out of the way. But for that, I feel like I use that's why I love the ability to record my own vocals, because then I know where the vocals fit, and then, I mean, like, just take them off and put some words on them and you're good. But I feel like there's workarounds for everything. And that's how I'm kind of cheating myself into doing music for sync, is I'm like, oh, I'll write vocals to it, and then I write the vocals, and then I sometimes take them off and just leave it like that, and that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing. Like I said, I'll put it on my my mental whiteboard for you, the Spider-Man 3. And I love what you said. If it doesn't happen, that doesn't mean I have failed, right? I think there's a quote from Jean-Luc Picard. It is possible to do all of the right things and still fail. That is not weakness. That is life.
Yep.
And that was from a fictional starship captain from Star Trek, but oh well.
Yeah, and that is time. I mean, like, yo, I'm the one of the reasons I'm so addicted to Game of Thrones is that there's so many subliminal messages, like little messages that are philosophical and deep messages in there that I don't know if they were written in the books, but they are so profound.
Is this your first watch through?
That's one of the reasons. Yeah, it is.
Oh, so dude,
Definitely.
what season
I'm
are
in
you on
season
right now,
6.
man? What season?
6.
Okay,
Cannot
all right.
stop.
So
At 6, and I cannot stop.
So you've gone through the wedding and all of that stuff. Yep. The red wedding.
Weddings, there were a bunch, but yeah.
No, there's one called the Red
but
Wedding. I
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
okay.
I think I went through that.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyhow, the okay.
There it is.
But I feel like yeah, it's there's just there's so much more to this space, and I'm also glad that we've had the chance to talk like this because I feel like people are gonna get so much out of that and understand so much about the fact that they can shape so much more than they think. And I think that your story really reflects it in the way that you come across
Mm.
really brings out like real inspiration. Like it's real it's so it's undeniable
I appreciate that.
when I told you that when I look at people like you, I just see, you know, like just like you were speaking, the lifelong learner thing is just so alive in you, and it just translates to everything, right? Like it translates to relationships, and it translates to I'm intrigued like how it comes across like in your personal relationships, because I'm sure it does. And that sometimes that yeah, like I struggle with that sometimes, and I feel like all of us do though. So it's just very interesting
Yeah, I mean,
to
I've been married 30 years. It'll be 30 years this year. Or was
wow.
it 30 years last year? I think it was
Wow.
94. So it'd be 30 years this year. And we've been dating. I mean, we dated for a year and a half. So, and it's great. It's not always perfect, and it is work, and it is a lot about, you know, defining happiness and what's making you happy, and realizing that some things that maybe you're arguing about just aren't really important, right? And that kind of
Mm,
mentality, it carries forward in my it carries forward when I'm in traffic. You know, I've done a
yeah.
little motorcycle episode where I'm like, you know what, just ease off. Let the person in front of you. It's okay, even though they're
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
They let them into traffic. It's fine. It's fine. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's just trying to be aware. It's awareness. It's just consciousness and awareness, and it pervades everything.
I
Because
feel like yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, because you know, you can't put your like spiritual world over here in a box and your professional world in a box. I
Right.
am a holistic person, and it is all blurred
Yeah.
together.
An
And so, yeah.
holistic person.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like there's just like the understanding that I've had of relationships, especially romantic ones, is it's just like it just happens and it's great and it's supportive, and if it's not, then you should cut it off and all that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, to be honest, relationships, I mean, some percent of the time, pretty large percentage are not the prettiest thing. It's just like being with that other person, and that's and that's the same with like music, you know, like
Hmm.
sometimes you're not gonna make the music that you love, you're passionate about, or you're not gonna wake up in the morning and go like, yeah, today I'm going for it. But then tomorrow you may be coming up with that fire and like really cranking it. But I feel like in relationships with music and in general, the ability to show up is the most important thing of all the things. I just saw a really amazing Instagram about somebody talking about Avicii, about how he made one of his biggest hit, and what he was talking about was just like, to put it in perspective, he was speaking about, well, I'm going into the studio today and I'm making the best thing that I can make today. It may sound like oops, you're gonna bleep that.
Dude,
But
quit
but
apologizing. You're on your own
no, but
podcast.
sorry guys, I'm being
Dude,
cognizant. But anyway, I mean, what was
talking
I
about
saying?
Avicii
Ah,
and
yeah. So I mean, like you can come and you will make the worst piece of dump you made, but like tomorrow you can make the hit of the generation,
hmm,
and the Spider Verse. We never know.
yeah.
So that's the thing. Like being able to approach it with grace and the ability to know, maybe yesterday I was a really schwitty dog train. I can't do it.
Just
Cut.
do it. Just
No. Okay. No, but
lean into it, man.
like I was really to my dog yesterday, but today we've had the most beautiful and graceful walks. And it happened actually like today. Yesterday wasn't very good, but today was just amazing. And it's just because my ability to show up. So I'm giving myself like the credit and the grace for and the love for actually being able to show up for that creature. And that is why I'm here, just like without this expectation. And I feel like if people take something from this from me, is the ability to show up without expectation is something I'm working on, and I think that everyone in the world should work on. So
it's all everything. Everything is relationship. Your relationship with your spouse. The rules of your relationship with your spouse are the same as with your dog, as the same as with yourself, as with your publishers, as with your equipment. Things like honesty, things like accountability, things like dependability. Those are things that are important with a marriage. Being transparent, being kind, empathy, all of those things, whether it's a marriage or whether it's a relationship with your puppy or a relationship with your library, right? It's going to look different. The kind of honesty I would give my wife might need to shift with a client, but they still deserve honesty. And I want to share my here, I'll bleep out myself, my experience. We have cats. We're cat people, right? Dog people, game recognizing game, but
yeah.
So we have cats, one of whom is an elderly gentleman. I think he's like 16 years old. All right.
Whoa.
And so his sense of smell is going away, and he's kind of getting a little forgetful. Now, if you've had cats find the litter box by either remembering where it is or being able to smell. So it's all sense of smell. What does that translate to? Well, that means that sometimes our little guy will poo on the floor. It just happens. It's a life with having an animal in your house. Now, I can choose to be angry at him about it and fuss at him, but he's quite literally acting his age. He's a 16-year-old cat who can't smell as much, right? He is the softest, sweetest little guy on the planet, and I can't bring myself to be mad at him, even when last night, this is absolutely true, bro.
Hey.
Last night, I got done with my mastermind group. I come downstairs. I'm like, okay, strange things are afoot. And I hear we have a little Roomba, which is a robot vacuum. Do you see where this is going?
Yeah.
The Roomba had, so Digger, it's the name of our cat, had pooed on the floor because he's 16. He's acting his age.
Yeah.
But the Roomba had absolutely driven right through it. That's what I came downstairs to wow. whatever modern art painting that Roomba had done on the floor. And there was a part of me that was angry. And yes, I was angry that it happened and it sucked cleaning all that up. But what I was not was angry at the cat. And so But if I were to like fuss at him and it's like what you were saying earlier, that energy into the household. And so what does this have to do with sync and production music? It's about consciousness and relationship and awareness. It's relational awareness and putting yourself, give yourself a moment to be mad about, oh my God, at that on the floor. But just being heads up. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes you got to check your Roomba, if you know what I mean.
And the thing is, when we hear it start up, we're like, okay, drop everything, do a poo check, and we do. And I was in the middle of my session, and Shannon had checked, my wife Shannon, and she didn't see it, and it was hiding under a chair. The Roomba went under the chair. Went all around, did some modern art,
God.
Jackson Pollock looking stuff.
Oh my God. Oh
And
my
then,
God.
that was a lot of cleaning the floors and mopping and all of that stuff last night, but that's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, but
Digger's a sweet
yeah.
boy. He's a sweet boy.
Before we wrap here, I feel like I'll tell you like my story with my dog. The way I adopted her was I found her. She was our neighborhood dog. Basically, everybody was loving her, and she was a puppy, and everybody loved on her and kind of like just fed her and stuff like that. She wasn't eating the best thing, but she was fed.
Hmm.
But one day I found her and she was like in the side of the street and like half her weight, and she had some kind of poisoning. She couldn't let anything in her body.
Oh my gosh.
And then like the way that we introduced her to our house and potty trained her at the same time was she was in our house like cradled, and she was just basically vomiting and pooping
Hmm.
everywhere, because she didn't know how it is to be in a house, but she also was had this horrible condition, which she almost died because of, but ended up not dying because of. And for me, it was just like an amazing experience to be able to come in with, and I feel like that's the same with children, right? The compassion that a parent comes to a child is like, no matter what you do, I love you.
That's right.
And I think that's the biggest thing that we're talking about animals, but it's being able to say to come like that with that mindset to your art,
Hmm.
can take off so much pressure, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah. So, you
Absolutely.
know what? I gotta before we really get the hell out of here. I want
I
to
know we
ask
do.
you,
We could.
like,
We. I could easily talk another hour with you, man. We,
yeah,
we do have to stop at some time.
at least. But I wanna ask you like something. I usually ask it in my podcast. But what are
Okay.
you grateful for? What's one thing you're really grateful for?
Um, I.
That's not obvious.
That's not because I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful
Oh
for the
man.
community that we have happening, and I'm grateful that I am alive in a time where we can do this.
Mm,
Because yes, this is a podcast interview, but what we are doing right now is just sharing life, man. We're
right.
connecting beyond the business, beyond that. And the fact that you are in Bali and I am in Orlando, we
It's
connected
huge.
at 6 a.m. my time, 7 o'clock your time,
Yeah.
and we are
4:30
talking
already.
in real
Yeah.
time. Like I'm old enough to where that still really freaking impresses me.
Yeah.
And I am grateful that we are alive in a time and that we can share the same, our particles have materialized at the same time to
Mhm.
where that can happen. And
Yeah.
I'm really, really grateful for that. I'm grateful for the support of the community. You're going to get me. See, Shannon and I did an episode on gratitude for
Mm,
Thanksgiving last year.
mm,
And yeah, it's everything that like the internet of things and social media and everything for all of its ickiness, and it can be kind of icky. It has connected the globe in a way that you'd have to go to like the printing press, right? To find something as impactful. And I'm grateful that I have a front row seat to that and that I'm alive in that time. What
that's
about
amazing.
you? I mean, do people ask you on your own podcast what are you grateful for?
I feel like, yeah, they don't, but uh, I feel like I express gratitude in every episode to a point where people don't have to guess. But it's
Hmm.
it's it's just my interpretation of it. I feel like I'm man, I'm grateful for so many things right now. I'm grateful for my lovely space that I'm in right now. I'm just like so grateful for my dog and for the lessons that I'm being taught every day. And I'm grateful for music, because it really saved my life multiple times.
Hmm.
Like, and has been. Right now we are having this amazing session, but I used to really be able to only communicate like that with music. And I feel like being able to communicate with you is the next thing that I'm right now grateful for, because I feel like together we are elevating some people's frequency, we are elevating some people's ideas, we are helping people connect some dots, and that's the humanity that I want to live in, with all
Yep.
the wars that are happening and all these things. And I'm going to Israel next month. People are like, aren't you scared of going back there? And I'm like, man, Israel's been in war since it started. Don't worry about it. Like
Yeah.
it's been like that all the time. Like I grew
Yeah.
up in war. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Peace in the Middle East is not a
Yeah.
new concept, right?
Yeah. So I guess I'm grateful for the opportunity to elevate a frequency in a room with another person, and then have it translated to more people, and to more people who have the ability to tune out whenever they want, and can do it, and will do it. But I'm so grateful for that. And yeah, I wasn't as full as I am right now, so that shows me how important this conversation was.
Well, just keep doing it, man. Just keep doing it. As like I said when we started, your podcast is an absolute gem, and I say that wink, wink, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're on my show, or if you're listening to this on the 52 Qs podcast, head over to Sync Gems, man. Check it out. You subscribe right now if because this. Oh, what's her name?
Sheila.
Sheila. She's a sweetie. And if you're listening to this, then you just have to imagine a really adorable dog. Oh. And I would go get Digger, but he's not going to let me pick him up. He's 16 years old. He's like, bro, put me down.
She was also like, bro, put me down. She's hella tired. Yeah, it's already her
kind of the
sleepy
side eye.
time. Yeah.
But yeah, because this is Roy. This isn't a character he puts on, right? When the mic rolls, when the show rolls, this is it. And so I wish you all the success, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, man.
Once again, a huge word of thanks to Roy for joining me today on the podcast. And if you haven't already, head over to your podcast app, subscribe to Sync Gems podcast. It's so good having that back, and really, really appreciate Roy for having me over, because we did a simulcast. So in addition to the interview being here on the 52 Qs podcast, it was also kind of broadcast at the same time in the same week over at the Sync Gems podcast. So if you're watching me and you're from the Sync Gems, thank you so much for joining me today. And as always, we're going to have all of his links in the description below, especially to roymatz.com/store, where you can pick up your very own sample pack of beat making samples. Roy, appreciate you for putting that together. Can't wait to get to start working with those. So we're going to take a super quick break and tell you a little bit about how you can help support 52 Qs. But when we return, we are going to be listening to a brand new World Hip Hop Q, which features samples of the Chinese guzheng. Every week I talk about how this episode and the podcast and the community, the channel, would not be possible without the amazing support of our family, friends, and neighbors, subscribers of 52 Qs, who do pay their actual real-life money to keep all of this going. And in addition to being thriving members of the community, as well as supporting me and Shannon and everything that we're doing here, they also receive extra perks like live streams, workshops, Zoom feedback sessions, hundreds and hundreds of hours of video archives, weekly Q breakdowns, production music almanac, living ebook, and the opportunities to submit to real music libraries. Now, it's free to join 52 Qs. You can just go to 52qs.com and sign up, be a member of the community. We would love to have you. It will always be free to join the community. But if you've been watching, or if maybe this is your first time, but if you're wondering, is there a way to kind of level up my production music skills in the industry, meeting like-minded, super friendly, very generous composers, then why don't you think about subscribing? Memberships start at around $4 a month, and we would love to have you. Again, that's 52cues.com. So that was Gu Zheng and the Restless. I've got more of those coming up, and I'm sure we'll be hearing those in the weeks to come. For the family and friends subscribers of 52 Cues, you can check out a complete cue breakdown of that cue, where I unpacked the sounds, the harmony, how I layered the 808 plus a kick, how I manipulated the sample and chopped it up in Serato sample, and some rather unique and unusual sources of reference material. Again, for family and friends, you can check that out right now over in Cue Breakdowns. And again, a huge word of thanks to the family, friends, and neighbors subscribers who really do keep all of this going. And a thanks to you, whether you're a member subscriber or not. Just know that I appreciate you. I know you could have spent this hour practically anywhere, but the fact that you're here with me today means a lot. Would love it if you would consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help folks find us. Maybe think about paying it forward with a 5-star review. Do the thumbs up and the like. I know it's super cheesy to ask for all that stuff, but it really makes a huge difference in helping spread the word about what we are doing what we're doing here together. So you definitely want to tune in next week, where we are going to revisit some more inconvenient truths, some hard to hear truths about careers in the production and sync music industry. You definitely want to tune in for that. But that is going to do it for me this week. Hope that you had a stellar week 21, and I look forward to hearing amazing things about your week 22. But just remember, friends, that I trust and believe that the universe has amazing plans just for you. Until next time, peace. The 52 Cues podcast is copyright 2024 818 Studios, all rights reserved. The music played on the podcast is copyright of their respective owners and is used with permission and for educational purposes only. For more information, including joining the community or becoming a member subscriber of 52 Cues, head over to 52cues.com.